Okay, Derbyites, welcome to our slugfest for the 2016 Emmys, Best Comedy Supporting Actress. Allison Janney has won this 2 years in a row for Mom. She's up again, as well as Anna Klumsky for Veep, Gabby Hoffman for Transparent, Judith Light for Transparent, Kate McKinnon, Saturday Night Live, and then Niecy Nash for Getting On. I think most of us are picking Allison Janney, except Riley. You're going rogue here. Who are you going with?
Yeah, I've just switched to Anna Klumsky. This Emmy season, sometimes this is actually about when the Emmys are broadcast, when they have been August. And now that the tapes don't really matter, I'm just kind of sitting here bored, waiting for the Emmys. So I have to create my own excitement.
So you
Uh,
think John, you think Allison only won on the tape system or the episode submission system?
I think she was able to capitalize on both systems that we've seen so far. First with the tapes, and then with the popular vote. This year, when they're only marking one, I find it hard to believe that they're going to vote for a performance they're not actually watching. Because Mom, for the last 2 years, it only got one nomination. This year, it tripled. It's up to three,
Woohoo!
uh, which is something. But they did have to wait for Hot in Cleveland to go off the air so that they could build on their nomination tally. So they're not really that well watched by the Television Academy. You look at Veep, on the other hand, that's a show with 16 nominations. And then I keep thinking about how, I'm not going to predict Anna Klumsky because, this wasn't a good season for her. If she had her tape that she had last year, then I would have an excuse to predict her. But then I thought, what was the one thing that we learned from the Emmys last year? The tapes don't matter.
Right.
Like Margot Martindale maybe should have won a couple of years before for The Americans. Reggie Cathy should have won the year before for House of Cards. Peter Dinklage had a much better episode when he was on trial the year before. So if Anna Klumsky was good last year, maybe she wins this year.
Who agrees and who thinks Riley is crazy?
I don't think he's crazy. I think I have Klumsky in second, um, and simply for that reason that I think she could easily get caught up in the Veep uh, swell. But you can't ever discount Janney because she is Allison Janney. Um, she got another nomination for Masters of Sex, a show that isn't getting nominated in any other categories. So whether it's name checking or not, she's still Allison Janney, and whether it matters or not, she submitted another dynamite tape this year. Her tape is, again, it's perfect for the Emmys. Range, sympathy, impact, the big three. But it would not surprise me, and I can't say that I won't end up switching to Klumsky at some point. I'm really torn about this category.
I want to see how the creative arts go. I mean, there we'll actually see how the new system affects things. Like, can Martin Mull get caught up in the sweep if they're just checking, one by one?
Right.
Can it win some of the more questionable categories like casting, or like will it win editing despite the vote splitting? So I think we'll learn a lot there, and maybe I'll be switching back to Janney then.
And Zach.
I've been going back and forth between Janney and Klumsky for both of the reasons that you guys have said. I also have Kate McKinnon kind of hovering underneath there. I could also see one of the Transparent ladies winning. But, Anna Klumsky has been nominated 4 years in a row for Veep and has never won. Tony Hale has won. Julia Louis-Dreyfus has won. It's kind of surprising that she didn't win last year when the show won comedy series, and she had a terrific tape where she, told off Selena. I think she really could, if they're just checking off the ballot one after another for Veep, she could persevere here. On the other hand, Allison Janney's won 2 years in a row for this show. She has a terrific episode where her own mother, played by Ella Burstyn, comes back, and there's a lot of tears and fighting and the typical kinds of things that an Emmy episode make.
Anna Gunn didn't win until very late in Breaking Bad's run,
Right.
so it can happen. I mean, Anna Klumsky could very well do it, but I don't know.
The problem is that Anna Gunn, first Emmy was for 51, which was such a great showcase for her.
Right.
Klumsky's problem is that, one of the things, do the tapes matter or not? If they still do for some, people watching her tape, I have a hard time thinking that they're going to check her off, because she's really not. She has one of the single funniest lines. I remember when this episode first aired, I posted in the forums this very, very X-rated line that she has that had me falling out of my chair laughing about really disgusting things being done to Dan Egan with a Coke bottle, which was one of the funniest lines I've ever heard in my life. But it's not the massive, wonderful piece of acting. She doesn't get the big speech. She doesn't get the range that she had last year. And Janny just ticks so many boxes. I mean, she's funny, and she gets to be emotional, and she gets to talk about issues of child abandonment and her substance abuse problems, opposite Ellen Burstyn, who's nominated for House of Cards, and is in a good position to win for House of Cards. So it seems like all signs might point to Janny, but again, we're in this weird limbo year.
Let me ask you this, because speaking of tapes, and if they do matter, there are 5 acting nominees from Veep. And I believe they all submitted different episodes. So even if Anna Klumsky's episode submission for herself wasn't the best, there are 5 opportunities to see her in that show, because she's in every single episode, right, and she's great in every single episode. So could that work in her favor?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess if they're voting on her category last, then they will have seen her on Martin Mull's episode. They will have seen her on Tony Hale's and all of the others. My only thing that has me worried about maybe upsetting Janny or Klumsky is it's an election year. Hillary Clinton is everywhere. Kate McKinnon plays her. She's played her for years, and now she has also Ghostbusters that just came out during the summer when the voting is going to happen. So I think if there's an upset, it may not come from Anna Klumsky. It may come from Kate McKinnon.
I agree with you, actually, because I think, like you said, it's an election year, and Hillary Clinton is all over the place. She has to. She's campaigning to the presidency. But what's great about Kate McKinnon's performance as her is that it's not just an impersonation. She really does delve into who Hillary Clinton is, warts and all, and gives some sympathy to her in these silly sketches, And she's
so many
also,
of those sketches went viral too. I mean, you don't even have to watch SNL to know who Kate McKinnon played on the show this year.
And she plays Hillary Clinton in a lot of the submitted episodes I saw, like in Tina Fey and Amy Poehler's episode. There's that sketch with her as Hillary Clinton. In Tracy Morgan's episode, there's that sketch with her with Larry David as Bernie Sanders, which I think was the first time that they had done the debate together. So, I mean, if they think about it as her, not in a sketch comedy show, but as her playing Hillary Clinton, then maybe that could work in her favor. If they just focus on her performance as that character.
But what we talked about in the comedy supporting actor one was that no sketch person has ever won one of these acting races besides the guest star races. So I don't know if she'll be the first or if it will just be another loss for a sketch person.
Somebody's got to be the first.
Hey, Hillary may be the first president. So
there you go, yeah.
Maybe Kate McKinnon will be the first sketch person. A little less, less important.
It's too bad the election couldn't be held before Emmy voting's over, because maybe Hillary winning, knock on wood, would give Kate McKinnon an extra boost.
Should we ask? Let's ask if they could hold the election until later on or earlier.
Yeah, God knows it feels like it's been lasting for years now. So,
one of the nominees in this category that absolutely surprised me was Niecy Nash.
Mm-hmm.
I binged all 18 episodes of Getting On, and was really really surprised by her. And her tape is really quite good. And it's weird because it certainly fits the it's more in the dramedy side of things, but she certainly is one of the more sympathetic characters in this whole category. Because in the episode she's dealing with issues with her mother-in-law being ill, and she's dealing with this really aggressive sister-in-law who's trying to boss her around and kind of manipulate her, and on that show particularly, we know that there's at least some love for that show or the people on that show, because Laurie Metcalf got into lead actress out of nowhere. I mean, this is a show that very few people were paying attention to, lasted only 3 seasons, very short seasons of only 6 episodes apiece. And Niecy Nash is really, really good.
Is she too dramatic, though?
I don't know if it's dramatic. I think it's more subtle than it is broadly comic, And perhaps part of the reason why she got nominated is this is the woman who was on Reno 911. So it's such a change of pace for her.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be too dramatic, because it is more of it's more, the show is kind of transparent but a little funnier, I would say. I don't know how to, and I love transparent, by the way. I'm not knocking the show, but it's in that kind of vein, where it is more dramatic in certain respects. I mean, it's a show about people who work in a hospital, so people are dying every day in this show.
Yeah, not just a hospital, but a hospice ward.
Right, yeah.
The funny thing about Niecy, though, is that she really is the emotional core of that show, whereas Laurie Metcalf is playing kind of this manipulative, kind of power-hungry doctor, and the Alex Borstein character is just completely unsympathetic in every regard. Niecy is the one that is like, she has sweet scenes with the patients, and so I can see them, really responding to that character because she is so endearing as an actress.
She was also on Scream Queens, and she killed it. She was the star.
The best thing about that.
Yeah, for sure, yeah. If I had to vote in this category, I would vote for her just because of Scream Queens.
Interesting.
Like that's a performance where she was so obviously elevating the material, and they brought her in as a special guest star initially. She was there for a few episodes, then she came back, and suddenly she was commandeering the sorority. Then later, she was head of the police department. It just made no sense what her role was, but they just wanted to use her so badly. And she would get into these scenes where anybody else would have died, but it was a very great comedic performance, and the opposite of what she's doing on Getting On.
And if you watch Getting On, she really is almost the co-lead of that show. Mm-hmm. She has a major story arc that lasts, particularly the last 4 episodes of the show.
She's unionizing it.
Yeah, she has the union storyline and the mother storyline, oftentimes in the same episode. So I think I have her in 3rd, maybe.
Really?
So now we're down to the transparent ladies. Judith Light, it's her first nomination for this show. Gabby Hoffman got in last year, and she also got in for Girls last year. So we know the TV Academy just loves her. All of a sudden she just exploded. So is there going to be, Riley, is there going to be some kind of a vote split that happens maybe?
Yeah, I put them down in 5th and 6th just because I find it too hard to tell which one is ahead. Gabby Hoffman seems to be the more popular character, since she got in last year. But Judith Light maybe is seen to have had the better season. She got her Golden Globe and her Critics' Choice nominations this year. So I just can't decide between them. So
it's something because I watched Daniel's interview with her recently, and it kind of shocked me to remember that she doesn't look like Shelley Pfefferman.
Right.
So her performance is so transformative. I'd love to see her win, but like Riley said, that the two of them are both so good in that show. It's hard to choose between the two of them.
So maybe Gabby will get a lot of votes, Judith will get a lot of votes, and ultimately they may cancel each other out almost.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Judith, go ahead.
No, what I was going to say. I mean, Transparent. It's no secret that Transparent was my absolute favorite program of any genre last year, whether you define it as comedy or drama. I think the problem with I think the vote splitting is a problem. Judith Light's episode is primarily has this really interesting scene at the beginning in the bathtub. But that's also the same. That's also the Melora Hardin, if I remember correctly. I believe that's Melora Hardin's. Yeah. And that really is the centerpiece of that episode. Gabby Hoffman, has some really good stuff with Cherry Jones, but again, it's not. With Transparent. Transparent actually went down. It got 11 last year. It got 10 this year. It might win for Tambor again. It might win for directing again. And I think if any of the two is going to win, I think it actually might be Judith Light, because she's the bigger name. She's Hollywood royalty, Broadway royalty.
And she has some great scenes throughout the entire season. She doesn't have one episode, I think, that is like a big standout for her, as in she's like in all 30 minutes. But throughout the entire season, she has, like in the first episode, she has that moment where she tells Tambor that she's beautiful, and it brings you to tears to hear that, Or
go ahead.
Her getting upset at Mara for leaving her again, or being upset about Josh losing the baby. There's a lot of great material in there for her. Like,
she really is the funny. The funny thing is that in a show that is often criticized for being characterized as a comedy, but not being really a comedy, she really provides the moments that you remember that are funny. And if we remember in the old days of the Emmys in this category, where it used to be like splices of 2 episodes that would make up a tape that would be submitted, I think she'd be a much more formidable nominee.
I think Amazon needs to do a really good job of making sure people know Judith Light's never won an Emmy. She's been acting for years and years and decades. She's never won. This is actually her second nomination after she was nominated for a guest star for Ugly Betty. And
although she has 2 daytime Emmys.
Okay, that's good.
Those of us that are old One Life to Live fans remember her fondly.
So, Judith, if you're watching, the daytime Emmys do count. I'm sorry, I was just not looking at that on my list. But yeah, I think she deserves an Emmy for this role. This is a really good role. She plays my favorite character on Transparent, actually.
And she might be helped. She might be helped. I don't know if anybody's thought about this, but she might be helped by the fact that they just released the first trailer for the next season, which comes out in September. It comes out, I think, 5 days after the Emmys. So she's going to be out doing press for that, and so
during the voting.
During the voting period, I can't believe that she wouldn't be doing press for season 3 during the voting period. So that's going to increase her visibility.
I think that she was at the Paley Festival or Paley Center this week with Jeffrey Tambor and the cast. So yeah, you're right. I mean, maybe her being in the spotlight. Of course, Gabby would be in the spotlight as well. Could help her.
Mm-hmm.
Any final thoughts? I think it's going to be Janny, but I think Kate McKinnon could pull off a shocker.
Looking ahead to next year, did you guys see that interview that Chris and Matt did with Allison Janney? And then they ask her, like, are you going lead next year? And she says that she is. It's hard to tell how much she's saying it in jest or whether, she'll make that decision later on. But that'll be interesting if that happens.
Right. It'll be fun because this category will be open up wide. But then, who will win if it's Julia Louis-Dreyfus versus Allison Janney in lead? I think Julia maybe, because Veep is clearly beloved, and Mom really isn't, though it should be.
Mm-hmm. Are they doing that to? Are they putting Anna Faris in supporting then, or because I assumed that they had,
I don't
that
know.
they had Janny. I always assumed they had Janny in supporting because they wanted to get Faris in lead, but.
Might be time to give up on that. So.
I will say I've been critical of Mom in the past, but I thought this past season it really stepped up its game quite a bit.
Yeah,
So-
I'm a huge fan of Mom and have been since the beginning. And I think that no show is as daring as that show is to mix comedy and drama, and I think it deserves more attention than it gets. But for this category, I think it's Janny versus Klumsky with McKinnon as a spoiler.
All right. Thanks everyone for watching. We will see you next time.
See you next time.